Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, wherever you may be, somewhere across our lovely world. Thanks so much for joining us. Eric, how are you?
I am Jim Dandy. I'm not sure
Excellent.
what that means, but I am Dandy. Happy to be here. How are you, Julian?
I am good. We are back. Serverless Office Hours is back. We are streaming to more places 1 hour later. So I appreciate our diehard fans who are desperate to see Eric staying up an extra hour later to see everything. I see you've obviously had a busy holiday building some toys behind you, Eric. That seems as though you've been
I have,
busy.
yes. There's my bus. See my lit up bus there? I am a Lego fanatic. I'm easy at holidays. My wife gets me Legos. So yeah. How's your break?
It was good. It was good. It was good. Actually, went skiing over the summer. Over the winter, so that was great. And yeah, AWS has had a sort of hiatus on a bit of streaming, and we're coming back with a sort of stronger brand, a few more different shows and changes. But all it means is actually we're in more places. Actually, we're now streaming live on the AWS Twitch channel, on the AWS Events channel for YouTube, LinkedIn, and also newly via Facebook. So if anybody is joining us via Facebook, well, hello, nice to have you. First time Serverless Office Hours on Facebook. Very cool.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Super excited. We are going to be, and I don't want to steal your thunder here. I'm pretty excited about what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about a recap from reInvent. And if you're new to this, if you're catching this on Facebook, going, who is this guy? Who are these guys? One with it. We're basically twins, as you can tell.
You can't tell us apart.
AWS reInvent is a conference that we do in Vegas. These 60,000 plus folks that come. Oh, look at there. Julian has the stats. So you can see here we have 60,000 plus attendees. It's a huge conference. It's over like 6 or 7 hotels. It's a long week. There's no sleep. And we have a blast. 400,000 plus folks watching keynotes online and, obviously attending there. 1,900 sessions. Julian does most of those.
I think Eric does.
We have a great time. There's a lot of sessions, 3,500 speakers spread across that, and you can, 546 updates. This is the cool part. Julian, I'll let you jump on this, but tell us these numbers of what they mean.
Basically, AWS comes out with a whole lot of stuff just before. So we have this sort of time, it says pre-reInvent. Sometimes we call it pre-invent, which is sort of technically the end of October up to November, because we obviously can't come out with stuff, straight just during the days. So yeah, 422 announcements that came out before reInvent, 124 after, and yeah, add them all up, 546 announcements of things going out. So get your stopwatches going. We're going to be covering them all very quickly in this session. No, that would be crazy. So we're obviously just going to focus on the serverless ones, a few other database and some other kind of things. There's also a user group thing that's going literally around the world. So if you've been seeing that, I think that's what it says. There's a presentation deck with a selection of the 221 updates. But yeah, today we're going to be talking all about the serverless kind of ones. And yeah, a lot to get through. But yeah, just in terms of the sessions, we have the breakout sessions as well. This is actually a serverless compute playlist. So the breakout sessions are people up on stage talking about various serverless products and features, new announcements, cool things, tips, tricks, hacks. Lots of cool things. Our bestest and brightest and me doing some of these presentations. So yeah, some really good stuff. That's a super good playlist to be able to at least catch up on the reInvent goodness. And to be honest, that's what I spend my end of December and January doing, is catch up. People may think we know everything about AWS. It's impossible. So my training for this year is watching everything on this playlist to figure out what everyone else has been talking about.
Man, I have never known anybody who talks as fast as you do. I'm just going to throw that out there. You will give Rick Houlihan a run for his money. If you don't know who that is and you're watching, look him up. He fast talker. But there's also, I really encourage you to check out Julian Sessions because he covers a ton of content. Yes, he talks fast. Maybe you need to slow it down a lot, but he covers so much in such a cool way. And some of those I'm sure are in here, Julian, I'm assuming.
Yeah, definitely. So that's it. Yes, that was SVS 4.1, best practices for serverless developers. And the cool thing is reInvent is only sort of part of the story. Obviously, there's a big thing going on, but actually it's AWS Summit season, which starts, I think, in sort of April-ish around Asia Pacific and Europe, and then rolls on through the whole of the year. And a lot of the sessions at reInvent are going to be done somewhere at the summits as well, maybe with a few tweaks. My session is being done by somebody else. I know at the Stockholm Summit, another AWS person, and literally one of the best gurus on AWS service. I'm not going to steal their thunder. But yeah, so these are the summits. Come 3 days, super deep dive technical stuff for AWS. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. So yeah, if you aren't able to get to reInvent, appreciate it's a long way to go for people who are not local. Sign up at the summits, and that's a great place to be able to go.
This is really where we bring little reInvents to you. Go to this page, the events summits page, because these aren't the actual summits. These are the regions that we're having them in, and there's multiple ones inside these regions. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of places where you can go catch these. So yeah, I encourage you to check this out.
I was going to start by listing all the dates of the summits, and then I was like, that's going to be a long list. So
yeah, that's
the whole session. As we get closer to the time, we'll do them. Yeah. Cool. So on to some announcements. I mean, this is what we're talking about. Now, please, also, we are live. Send us your questions and your comments. We'd love to hear from you. We've got a new bit of a streaming platform, so we can't reply in as simply as we have before. In fact, I'm going to just say, please tell us where you are listening from. It is a different time, different platform, so we'd love to know our large audience. And in fact, Demetrio, it's to Eric. Looking forward to seeing you again this year. So yeah, Demetrio, this is what we love hearing from you where you are. And then Grant Lammy, in fact, one of the absolute gurus on all things serverless. And Grant did actually write an application at reInvent to measure the number of words I spoke in the 1 hour session. And 7,500.
I thought that was a joke. Holy cow.
Grant showed you.
7,500 of those would have been in the entrance, would have been in the intro too. I can guarantee you. Hello, good morning, good night, good evening, good whatever. I stumble over myself when I talk that fast. So, by the way, I know that looked like me. That wasn't. That was Grant Lammy. So, I mean, we are basically twins, but
thanks,
I'm better looking. So.
Thanks, Grant, for writing an app to literally use some cool AI stuff to get the words out as well. Billy Moreira, hello from South Africa. I'm Richie from South Africa.
That's
so my heart is always there. So yeah, super nice to hear from you as well. And Daryl, thank you very much. Friend of our show as well. Hello guys from snowy Canada. I do hear it is super snowy. So yeah, serverless functions and containers. Let's talk about a few of the things that have come out. Honestly, Eric talked about me talking fast. We're going to have to go through some of these quickly.
We're going to have to book. So
yeah, we're going to have to bring out the book. If you're a Node or Python developer, the latest ones are out. And in fact, what I think is one of the better things about this is I think it's within 30 days of the public release of these. So Lambda, a year or two ago, people were grumbling a bit because it took a while for Lambda to come out with these runtimes. Lambda did a huge amount of work behind the scenes to be able to do these super quick. So, we've got great teams who are developing with Python and Node. Super up, develop your Lambda functions in Python and Node. That's a cool start. Snapstart, do you want to cover this one, Eric?
I'm just
throwing it at you.
Yeah. No, I'll catch that. So if you're not familiar with Snapstart's a great way to optimize runtimes that maybe have to do a lot of work up front. So it's like we originally brought it out with Java, right? So when Java comes up, there's a lot of inference and things that are going on. I'm not even sure inference is the right word. Things that happen, you can tell I'm a developer at heart. Things happen at the beginning of it when they come up. And so what we created is this thing called Snapstart. And basically what it means is we run all that and then we save it in memory. And then when it's time to actually invoke the Lambda function, we pull it from memory and we can run it. So you can see here where the init, the create, the download, and the start are all times, they're all optimized. And that's a really quick summary. But what's happened here is we've extended this to Python and .NET. And you might be saying, well, Python, wait, hang on. Python's not a compiled language. No, it's not. But it's heavily used. Have you ever tried to load pandas at the beginning of your, when you're just simply requiring panda in an application, it adds 3 seconds, right? So this allows you to really speed up those initializations as well as the actual
and definitely
themselves.
Lots of people do ask about Python and pandas and LangChain, and people even like running DuckDB. I mean, this is so cool. Actually, I want to do an office hours on that sometime where people load a whole database in memory for DuckDB to be able to do vector embeddings or even linking it with pandas and that kind of stuff. And they bring up a whole database instance in memory, and obviously it's got to load up in advance. Here you can do it super efficiently. So Yeah, love it. Okay, so yeah, quick one, fault injection service support with Lambda. I think it's also, there's another slide later for ECS as well. So yeah, this is cool. If you're into your Chaos Monkey, if you have no idea what that means, it's actually got nothing to do with monkeys, but this is a service from AWS that allows you to break things deliberately in your application to check resilience. So you could, cut off a connection to a VPC, for example, or do other kind of things and test the robustness of your application. So yeah, people who are using fault injection service are loving it. Applications, yes, Eric.
I was going to jump in. We've now extended application signals. I'm just going to, I'm going to talk over.
Yeah,
We're
okay.
going to talk over each other and go for it. That's all right. Julian and I've been doing this for a long time. We've been talking over each other for quite a while. So, application signals for AWS Lambda. This announcement actually expands the initial release of Amazon CloudWatch. You can read that there. Application signals. It's an AWS built-in application performance monitoring, right? So it's an APM solution, which helps you tell the story about your application. So we're actually extending this to Lambda. That is now GA. We're super excited about that.
Yeah, CloudWatch logs Livetail and Metrics Insight. There's a great blog post over there, which I believe Eric even wrote. So Livetail in the console. Yeah, so this is awesome. So the Livetail means you just get your logs immediately when you're developing your functions. This is super cool. And also Metrics Insight, so just better metrics for your Lambda functions. I mean, I've always been a big interest in observability. Anything you can do to work out what's going on in your applications is super cool. And on the metrics side as well, event source mapping. So this is when we run polling resources. This is one of the cool things about Lambda, that you can poll from SQS, Kinesis, or DynamoDB, or Kafka, or RabbitMQ, or ActiveMQ. I'm trying to remember them all. And this is just a poller that AWS manages on your behalf. And now you've got some more metrics to find out what's going on. How many messages were polled, what were dropped with filters, and all these kind of things. So yeah, just sort of opens up that little box of the poller to see what's going on. I'm just looking at our comments. Super appreciate everybody who's doing. We've got Kanish Dutta from India. We've got Energy Reds from Texas. Howdy, cool. We've got Anuraf Tamid Hassan from BD. I'm going to have to guess. I don't know. BD. No, we don't know. On the other side of the world. Sudeep from Sydney. Cool. Sean from Florida, and we've got Adam. Not sure where you are from, Adam and Edson. So yeah, we are seeing all the comments and really appreciate you spending time with us today. So provision mode for Kafka event source mapping. This is specifically for Kafka. Kafka is often about high throughput, high scale, and this is just a way that you can set a poller to start in advance of your actual polling, and it's just going to be much quicker. That's a simple kind of thing. There's two little aspects of it. There's a slight thing you do need to pay, but also it actually removes a whole bunch of networking. So when you are connecting with Kafka, there were VPC endpoints, or you need a NAT gateways and all these kind of things, no longer required if you use the provision mode for Kafka event source mappings.
All right, so S3 support is a failed event destination. What this means is we actually have event destinations if something fails, because as always, we try to write so nothing fails, but something does fail. And what you're able to do with this is, earlier you could go to like a DLQ in SQS, but now you can also send data to an S3. So if it fails, it'll write that data, and you don't lose the data, which is always good when you're working with that. So that's a new destination for that.
Yeah, cool. And obviously we got all the QR codes on the right hand side. Those go to the links to the announcement as well. So if you're watching this live or on the recording, remember this is recorded for posterity in a number of places. You can watch it back tomorrow. People across the world aren't live, just scan on the QR code and you get the links there as well.
Julian, one of the very first things I did when I worked for AWS to explode my bill was this right here. And you can raise your hand, I'm sure you would too. How many of you have written an application that the S3 bucket invokes a Lambda function when something gets dropped in, the Lambda function does some work, and then puts the file back in the S3 bucket, causing a recursion, and then I got an exploded bill. Of course, AWS is very good to me.
And very simple to do, because all I did was, when I was putting to it, I just used an environment variable, and I just typed the same one again.
Yep. Exactly. So we're not detecting that. So we've added recursive loop detection for S3 to help not have that happen. So
yes, so this just stops it automatically. I think it's after 16 invokes, it'll just stop it. Also works for SQS and SNS as well. Yeah, enhanced local ID experience. When you're writing with Lambda, there's a huge amount of functionality that was sort of hidden. And SAM, which is our serverless application model, a framework for building serverless applications, there are two parts of it. One is speeding up your cloud formation, and one is a really rich CLI for helping for things. And you can use debug and local testing and invoking in the cloud and creating test events and doing all these kind of things. And we've basically built this all natively into VS Code. There's a new application builder section. It'll look at a CloudFormation template, pick out all the little things that are in there, and you could just right click on your Lambda function and you can invoke locally, generate a test payload. You could deploy to the cloud. You can sync it to the, all the stuff you can do with Lambda right in your local IDE. You can stream logs, do all these kind of things. So yeah, super helpful that you don't need to go to the console. Huge amount of stuff you can do. You can look at the blog post, and there, in fact, some videos out there which I've done, which answer all of that as well.
Yeah, if you can't tell, Julian knows all about this because he wrote the blog, he did the videos, and he also did a lot of work behind the scenes to help make this happen. Well done, sir.
Yeah, no, kudos to the team. Yeah, I'll just quickly cover this one. Enhanced console. So we've basically moved to VS Code Web. So this is VS Code, looks like VS Code you have with dark mode, light mode, whatever you want. You can do some keyboard bindings. It's got Amazon Q built in, so this is actually really cool. And a better way to set environment variables. Yeah, it just looks like your native coding experience. And the very cool thing is it supports larger function sizes in the console. Previously, it was 3 meg, and now it's 50 meg for a maximum size. So remember the times you go into your Lambda function and it says, oh, cannot display. And you're like, I just want to see the function. Now you can if it's up to 50 meg in size.
So this CNK encryption of zip code artifacts, basically a lot of encryption. Obviously, we offer encryption, things like that, but now it's customer managed keys. So that's important. So you can manage that key. You want to tie those off, and so you can do that with your own customer managed key for zip code artifacts. I don't know if you have any more on that one, but that's pretty
that's good. Yeah, more security if these are your enterprise requirements. This is just another tick box you can do.
All right, so we're going to jump over to ECS for a moment here. This one's really cool. I remember when this came out, this is a pre-invent release. This is predictive scaling for Amazon ECS. When you're building your ECS cluster, you can actually have scaling strategies. You can say, okay, I want no less than 12, and I want no more than 52, and you can do some scaling on that. However, wouldn't it be great if you could use some machine learning to kind of predict that scale? And so we actually created this, and it works with ECS, and it doesn't go instead of one of the other ones, like my less than mode. It actually works hand in hand with your scaling techniques that you're already using, and helps to say. So you can still say no less than 12, no more than 52, but I want you to go up and down based on what the algorithm has said. Super cool. I'm looking forward to seeing when this actually spreads out to other services. Really cool service. We're excited about this.
And this is the kind of thing. Anything that can use machine learning to just make me do less decisions, I'm always going to be happy for. So that is super cool. Yeah, VPC Lattice supports. VPC Lattice is actually a really great way that you can, in a much simpler way, connect separate accounts together and connect the various services together. And it supports Lambda and ECS, and I think EKS as well. EC2 obviously as well. And so instead of having to manually create and configure these accounts, VPC Lattice is a sort of lattice network that can be created all across these things as well. So yeah, it just makes things much easier. And so yeah, if you are using ECS, another sort of simpler networking option that you can use.
I'm going to jump in real quick here.
Yeah,
if you're not familiar, because we have a new audience, right? These probably aren't the same folks. I mean, obviously we have Grant, because he won't leave us alone. But and Daryl, and I could name all the folks. But probably have a new audience. If you're not familiar with ECS is how you doing? Pay me to speak here. Elastic Container Service, meaning you can run containers, but you can run them serverlessly with a service we call Fargate. So if you love containers, and maybe you're like, well, sometimes I use a Lambda function, which is a very ephemeral type of compute. But sometimes I want to use containers. This is how you do it, ECS with Fargate. And these are the two in the serverless world, because that's what this is all about. It says right up there, serverless office hours. In the serverless world, these are the two types of compute that are available to you. I mean, we can get into the debate of is step functions of compute and that kind of stuff. But these are the what we'll call traditional compute options in the serverless world. So just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Eric. Yeah, we're jumping in full on into all the announcements, and yeah, please, ask us in the comments if some things don't make sense. Yeah, we've got people from Ghana, and we've got people from Kenya.
Kenya, yes.
Oh man, this is awesome.
Mozambique,
yeah, New York City, cool. I love it. And in fact, one, Karaba says, can anyone help me with my final year project? So that's in LinkedIn. If somebody wants to help Karaba out, then yeah, I'm sure that would be super appreciated.
Yeah. I would ask also this other one. Oscar asked, I'm new to Python. I want a roadmap to master Python. If anybody has some ideas, I'm mastering Python myself. So there's all kinds of online classes you can take, some free. So I encourage that. Python is something big we use in serverless all the time. So,
well, more. We're going to spend a good time in this welcoming everybody. Dominican Republic, I've been in many times, really cool. Zimbabwe, close to South Africa, awesome. And then Dublin, Ireland, with my terrible Irish accent. Cool. Yeah, I don't think we covered this one. Amazon ECS service versions, deployment history. So yeah, just a much easier way that you can show your deployment history. Obviously, as you an Amazon ECS service is where you run a service across multiple availability zones, for example, and you have then an individual task, say version 1 that goes to version 2. You can now just far more easily see and understand exactly how that task was transitioning. I'll just quickly cover container insights.
Sure.
You'll see there are a few different observability ones. There's one for ECS, Lambda as well, and container insights is like that sort of application performance modernization. There's also, I think, database insights as well. So yeah, just being able to have, instead of looking at just the small sort of super, CPU and memory and things like, and then trying to correlate things, this is just more observability. And yeah, we've got for containers and databases and Lambda as well.
Here's that slide you referred to earlier, the fault injection support. This is really cool. If you like, testing your service, this is the way to go. So yeah, we do this for Lambda and we do this for ECS containers.
Yeah, so there's, where it says in the title supports network experiments. That's a cool kind of thing. So say you've got Lambda or you've got ECS Fargate across Lambda, you don't care about availability zones, although they do run in availability zones, but you don't have visibility of them. Fargate you do. But now what happens if you want to ensure that if an availability zone goes down or a network interface goes down, that you may be talking to an RDS database or something on-prem, or something via a network gateway, you can simulate that in fault injection service and then do some full testing to know exactly what's going on. So yeah, super cool. I love it. So we're one section done. Now we've got network and content delivery. We're going to pick through these quickly because even VPC Lattice covers that as well. Yeah, if you're using CloudFront, it's the edge local network, low latency, supports gRPC APIs. So yeah, just allows you to do some reduce the latency, and then also adding in some different security settings. And then also VPC, Amazon CloudFront VPC origins. So this is cool because CloudFront can now connect directly into VPCs to be able to connect some stuff. So before you would have to have a little jump option that would have to bridge that gap. Now you can connect directly. I love it. And then functions update. So this is modified. So CloudFront functions are little functions that run at the edge. It's just in JavaScript, super low latency as well. And now you can write some more custom logic in those functions to overwrite the origin properties. So when a request comes in, it can change where it's come from before sending it on to someone else. Now, Eric, I'm going to cover this one because I put this in here specifically in two places because there's a networking component to this, and then the rest.
I'll cover the other one. Yep.
Yeah, well, okay, I'll cover you.
So I'm sorry, you said you want me to cover this. I'm sorry.
Well,
I misunderstood. Yeah, so this is a huge deal. So one of the things that we see a lot of folks do is, hey, if I've got something outside of the VPC, but I want to talk to an endpoint inside the VPC, then we usually need a proxy inside the VPC. But now we can bridge that without a proxy using the private links and part of VPC Lattice, and we'll get into more of that. But you could share resources like EC2 instances, ECS, EKS, and all that stuff not just cross or outside of the VPC, but also cross account. So you can do a lot of sharing. So I can say, hey, Julian, I've got this API here. I want to be able to share it with you. And then I can point it and you can then call it. I would share that out. You would accept that share and off you go. So lots of power there.
Cool, excellent. Yeah, and we'll cover that a bit more with the step functions in pretty shortly. But yeah, just before we go into the storage section, we've got lots of people from USA, from Philippines, from Kenya, from Bogota, Colombia. Super cool. But I just want to pick up actually a cool comment that Luis German Ramirez Lobato said. Apologies if I messed up your name. Yeah, there is this Forbes article. There's some other articles coming out. A decade of AWS Lambda has serverless delivered on its heyday, on its hype, and I also saw another article today, and despite its influence, serverless computing remains a complement rather than a replacement for traditional compute models. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Serverless is absolutely incredible in the right use case and in the right kind of thing. But they're very different models of serverless. What is actually strange here is we are covering all of these serverless services. We've done a bit of Lambda, but we're talking about networking constructs and storage contracts, and we're going to get onto database constructs and all these kind of things, which are all serverless as well. And so, yeah, Lambda is going to be a great part of your applications. Containers is going to be a great part. Containers can be serverless as well. So your serverless is way bigger than just Lambda. So I think a lot of people get tripped up going, has Lambda delivered on the promise when they expected that everything was going to run in Lambda? And the truth is Lambda is going to be great for some kind of things. Sometimes a monolith on a Fargate instance with ECS on a container, or sometimes EKS is going to be better for your use case. But there are definitely going to be places where serverless is going to play a part. Nothing in IT ever takes over everything. So that's my answer to that. But yeah, love bringing it up.
Yeah, I think we really reached the place, and I don't want to rehash each section. I think you absolutely nailed it on the head, and as well as Luis. But we've reached it where it's a tool, not a culture, right? Because for a while it was like, look, I use Lambda, I only use Lambda, I never use anything else.
Or nothing, yeah.
Right, exactly. It's kind of like PC or Mac, that kind of same idea, but it's right tool, right job. And we agree wholeheartedly with that. There are some things that go, nah, that doesn't make sense in a Lambda function. I'm going to move that to like an ECS. I'm loving containers right now, and there's sometimes when it does. So yeah, well said, Julian. Thanks for pulling that out, Lewis. Appreciate
and also, AWS is still going to be pushing these kind of services to work better together, so it's not such a hard and fast choice. In fact, it's on us as even Eric and I work closely with the service teams to help them understand that and push for that as well. So yeah, if you have any insights or things you would like, let us know. So quickly, some storage things. We're not going to spend a huge amount of detail here, but just some simple cool things like Amazon S3 static website hosting. This is super quick. Literally within the S3 console, you go, I want to make this a website. Now, before you could do it via Amplify hosting and everything, this uses Amplify hosting behind the scenes, but you don't know, you don't care. How cool is that? S3 must be one of the biggest website hosters in the world, and now you just go, make this a website. I love it.
Well, and I think a lot of folks don't understand that you can use S3. And this excites me because we still see so many folks for static websites spinning up machines and running multiple computers. Like, this already gives you the scalability, the reliability, the durability, all the ilities. So very cool.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, and then quickly, because this is just a new kind of thing, and we don't normally cover different types of S3, but S3 tables is Apache Iceberg, and for people using data processing and everything, basically S3 is sort of revisiting the way they have objects. So you can have objects, and now you can also have S3 tables, and also on the next one is S3 metadata. And so this is, instead of having instead of S3 just being a dumb bucket. Now, I don't mean that badly, like S3 is dumb in any shape or form, but
that's going to go on your record. I can feel that.
Exactly.
We're going to get called to HR for that one.
Hello, HR, boss of S3. Yeah. But often your applications see just blobs of data in S3, and they treat them as sort of, whether it's an object doing something or an object doing something else, it makes no difference. And so S3 is now actually becoming more intelligent by understanding that this is Apache Iceberg, or being able to also store metadata. And so you can write applications and using S3 as a sort of data lake, data store in much more effective ways. So yeah, people using, Iceberg, Spark, all these kind of big analytics and data processing tools, S3 now becomes a lot more simpler to be able to use for you.
Hey, Julian, I'm going to answer a question really quick.
Yeah.
We've got a question from Sylvia. It says, how do we get HTTP? It's 4 S's, which I've never heard of that one, but I do know
it's very secure.
Yeah, it's very secure, super secure for S3 static pages. That is possible now. You can actually point CloudFront with HTTPS on it, but with Amplify, with this new way of setting up through Amplify can handle custom domains as well and give you a secured website. So it is possible now. And we knew you were emphasizing. We loved it too. Thank you, Sylvia. So hopefully that helps. If you use that Amplify, it's great. If you want to do it, you can actually do it through CloudFront and point it at step functions with SSL.
And yeah, Eric mentioned Amplify. Amplify is our sort of front-end framework for building front-end applications, and it just ties. What the cool thing about Amplify is it is its own framework, but it also uses S3 for storage. It uses, you can have Lambda functions or details.
Takes a lot of that heavy lifting for you.
Exactly, brings it all together. And now there's actually a storage browser, which is a UI component that you just bring in front of your front-end applications, React, Vue, whatever it is, and it allows you to browse your S3 buckets or be able to upload things. So yeah, just a nice quality of life improvement for that as well. So storage done. Serverless
3
integration
down.
services. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Why
Cool.
not you,
I'm
Eric?
gonna talk about this one. I love this one. So excited. I just take the cool ones. Is that okay? I guess they're all cool. So HR for that one too. All right. So they're all cool. So AppSync events. One of the things we get a lot of questions on. People love AppSync, but they're not GraphQL. They want to do, they want to take advantage of the event management of basically WebSockets. And so forever, AppSync used GraphQL to manage WebSockets. That works great. But now they've made it where you can kind of pull those apart. And if you don't want to use GraphQL and you just want to use the WebSocket management, this is the way to go, AppSync events. We just had, I don't think we'll have it in this, but we just had, if you use CDK, L2 constructs come out for this that make life super, super easy to use these. So if you want to do two-way conversations, WebSockets, you want the topics to kind of be handled for you. You want security built in, things like that. Look at this AppSync events. It's super cool. It's now in GA.
Yeah. And I appreciate also here we are talking a lot about different products at AWS, and sometimes you're like, what even is AppSync, and various other products. Yeah, we're trying to cover what the services mean, but AppSync has been a managed GraphQL service, and now this is introducing events, which is managed WebSockets. So manage PubSub WebSockets, a couple of lines of JavaScript or whatever your SDK code is, and just make it make it super simple. So what else?
So Lewis,
yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna pop in, Lewis. So please add data source to AppSync events like event bridge buses and Lambda functions. Those are coming. If they're not already here, we are working on a new service that we're working on building this out. That's all, of course, I can say on that, Julian. Let's not tell on anybody. So, but yes, we appreciate that you're requesting these, and I agree.
Yeah, and there was a second part. So a bus can listen to and do stuff based on published messages as well. Also, already
third part
Amazon Event Bridge talking to AppSync events is super easy. So you just route an event
to can do that, yes.
Event Bridge and send it straight to AppSync events, which then's available on your front end. So that's already there, and that is, in fact, we've got so many demo applications which have been using other WebSocket technologies under the hood. And yeah, if we had to redo it today, we would certainly use this way easier. And quickly, when we're talking about all this async stuff, EventBridge over time has reduced its latency by 94%. I think it's over sort of 2-ish years. And this means that when you are using AppSync events, EventBridge, all this kind of thing, people used to think, async, that's the slow stuff. That's just back-end processing. What are you on about? If you need things fast and low latency, well, you need to use a synchronous invocation pattern. Well, if EventBridge reduces its latency, that just turns it completely on its head. You can build asynchronous applications which have amazing decoupling advantages, but if they're fast, they can they can run as pretty much as fast as sync. So for example, EventBridge pushing something to AppSync events, that could happen in under 100 milliseconds. So yeah, super powerful, and just a quality of life improvement. And in fact, I've said a few times that it's funny, where with EventBridge reducing its latency, they're actually, honestly, and I'm not even making this up, the support team at AWS had support calls from customers going, I think my monitoring's broken. I've broken something in my application because my latency dropped by, maybe 50% or something.
Right.
And they're like, no, EventBridge has just got faster. That's it. And the customer's like,
you're welcome.
You're welcome. Yeah. Exactly. So the unintended consequences of building in a serverless way. Yeah, in a serverless way, things just improve behind the scenes. All of a sudden, stuff gets twice as fast.
All right. Next couple, I'm going to jump on here real quick, if you don't mind. I actually have some videos out about this that explain this, and I have a session at reInvent all about step functions and how do you build advanced workflows and things like that. But one of the things we introduced in step functions was AWS variables. How you doing? I'm so ingrained in title things. We're talking about variables. One of the cool things is it used to be when you wanted something that came at the very beginning and you went through a lot of state functions, stuff like that, you had to carry that from state to state. And that was just annoying. I mean, I want to be delicate, but that was annoying. And so what we did is no more is that. So we've actually changed to using variables, which greatly reduced the complexity of how states worked. Anyway, you can see here when we move, well, JSON actually greatly reduced that, which we'll talk about next. So pretend I didn't say that. But the variables are actually, I can store a variable on the outcome of a like either from data coming in or the outcome of a task, and then that variable is available throughout the rest of the step function.
Eric, so I realized
takes on that.
I got the picture the wrong way around. I've got the picture the wrong way around. This is the picture for variables. And we'll get back to Jason.
That's okay. I was kind of wondering about that, but no, this still works. So you get the idea. So yeah, you get it from the you get it from the output of a task. You add it, and then it's available throughout. You can even in child, so like a child task, like if I'm running a map or something like that. But there's some caveats. I encourage you to watch the videos. We actually have them in the documentation. But yeah, go back up to the JSON auto real quick here. And so now this is JSON auto support. You can see there's no longer input path, result selector, result path, output path. None of that. All you have is arguments and output. And that makes life a lot easier. And then the JSON structure, which I don't know if we have an example of that coming up here. No, we don't, but that's okay. The JSON structure allows you to use, if you're not familiar with JSON, it's a way to query the JSON. Super powerful, much more powerful than JSON path. It is now the default. We're not getting rid of JSON path. We know a lot of people use it, love it, but JSON is now the default.
Yeah, and JSON is not an AWS thing. This is a industry standard for wrangling JSON.
Third-party open source.
Yeah, little scripting language thing, and yeah, super cool just to be able to do a whole bunch of JSON wrangling, because that seems to be the life of most developers this day, is wrangling JSON. So anything that makes it easier is going to be good. So yeah, sorry, we sort of stopped those around. So that's JSON. Eric, you can pick up this next one as well, seeing it's a continuation of our networking chat. Yeah.
I have, towards the end of this month, I have a long deep dive video about this. But the idea here is, again, if you want step functions to talk to a private API, and let's say you have to lock down your application, there's no internet access, it can't reach the internet. I mean, it's locked down. And we see that a lot for very obviously for financial ops and different things like that. But you want your step function to be able to talk to it. What you would usually have to do is have some type of proxy. Usually it was a Lambda function that was the go-between, as you can see here. And we don't think you need to do that. We think you should be able to call directly. So with the new, and this is part of VPC Lattice, it's a resource configuration, resource gateways. You can now talk directly to private endpoints inside of VPC using event bridge connections. Now, I just listed a lot of services there, and that's why I made the deep dive video, because this can be kind of complex. But basically, you can share these resources to event bridge through event bridge connections, which then step functions takes advantage of. You can also do it cross account. Watch the videos. I could spend 30 minutes talking about this. Super cool service. And as always, reducing tasks, reducing calls, reducing cost.
Yeah, no, super cool. And the cool thing is it's very low code. I mean, I see on the example there, we've got a Lambda function, but there are many ways that you can be able to call to external APIs or internal APIs to be able to do things with without having to run any code. It's just configuration. Call this internal API. Maybe you've got something running in a container or something even on-prem probably, and you can pull something in and without having to write some code and scale that out as well.
I'm going to answer a question real quick. Hey, Eric. He called me out specifically. This is tokens. I like this toe. That's kind of cool. Love the content. How do we contain costs? That's a fair question, right? And we could start going through each service to talk about this. I encourage, and I'll grab the link and try to throw it to you. You're on Twitch, so I'll throw it in there. I'll throw it across the different social medias. But I actually do a lot of cost containment. I talk about cost in the step functions series or session that I did at AWS. There's a lot of ways to reduce that, and again, I could spend another several hours talking about that. But it's all about optimization, right? There's a lot of things that we do to optimize serverless. Don't have Lambda sitting there forever. Don't do transitions that aren't needed. Don't use a Lambda function when it's not needed to transport. Only use it to transform. It's just about being wise with the resources. I know I kind of ran around the answer for you, but there's a lot we can do there. For the step function specifically, I'll throw the link in.
Yeah. And in fact, Billy's asking the same kind of thing. Please share links on cost containment in step functions. In fact, if there's only one thing to look at, is look at Express workflows.
Yeah,
Express workflows are synchronous, fast, furious. If it runs under 5 minutes, dramatically save your bill as well.
Always start with Express. My philosophy is start with Express and only move out if I don't, if I need to.
Yeah, so lots of stuff. And also just philosophically from serverless and costs, as with all things, nobody wants to have big unknown costs. The cool thing about serverless is because it's pay per millisecond for Lambda, or it's pay per state transition with step functions, or each write and read for DynamoDB, you've actually got far more visibility on your costs for individual services to be able to work things out. Yeah, plenty of things. And please never think that we shy away from talking about the cost thing. Your success in reducing your cost is makes us happy, because we wanted you be as efficient as you can.
All right.
I think
you go for a minute. I'm grabbing that link.
Yeah, sure. Provision mode for event source mapping. Yeah, we actually covered this beforehand. That was the Kafka. That was being able to get Kafka up and going a little bit faster. So we'll do that. We've even got a demo. The metrics. I've got some duplicates over here. So the next one up is API Gateway custom domain names for private APIs. This has been on the list, I'll say, for a few years. Super helpful. So so if you do have an internal API, previously you couldn't have a custom domain name. Now you can have a custom domain name. This is just super useful, and super quality of life thing. Makes it far simpler to be able to work out where your API requests and routing are going. Yeah, just quickly going, we've got, this is getting ridiculous, actually. So this is SQS, which is a queuing system. First in FIFO support, the in-flight message limit is now 120,000. They're just pushing up the limits all the time. I seem to remember it used to be 300 at one stage. So, just more and more limits going up. So, often there used to be a trade-off for doing FIFO, which is in-ordered messaging. For a lot of use cases, that's not going to be the same kind of thing. So onto some sort of DevTools kind of things, which is interesting. We talked about Amplify, the front-end framework. There's now an AI kit, so this is also adding some AI things into your framework. Also, just some more stuff on Amplify. It's all TypeScript. It uses CDK, so literally write your application code, infrastructures code, everything in TypeScript. If Amplify moved to version 2, and some people have tried Amplify with version 1. Landed up getting a bit stuck where they did what Amplify could do, and then they couldn't expand beyond that. Now with Amplify Gen 2, because it's all related to CloudFormation, basically under the hood, you can start with Amplify Gen 2 and then just keep going and do whatever you need. A sort of full stack TypeScript experience. Now, if you want to build some AI applications, this is some cool UI components and automatically connecting to Bedrock, which is our Gen AI hosted model application. Bit of a demo. Didn't realize there was a demo in here, but yeah. There you go, some very fast typing to be able to add all the models into your system prompts. Really good. So Amazon Q Developer. Amazon Q Developer is our coding assistant, our AI-assisted coding assistant. We are throwing more AWS data at it all the time to be able to get it better at AWS kind of things. It's got GitLab integration, some operations help, and Q is in a lot of different places, and sometimes that confuses people. But the Q Developer part is generally in your IDE, and they introduce 3 different things. So these are agents that run within Q Developer, /doc, /view, and /test, and they have been named particularly simply for what they do. So it can look at your code base, you do /doc, write me documentation, and it'll look at your package.json files, your dependencies, your code, your infrastructure's code, and just build some documentation. Review is super cool because this allows you to say, have a look at my application, find out any issues, and it's going to do security view. It can look for CVEs, a whole bunch of quality code issues it can just automatically find. That is awesome, just that second check. And then, a lot of code assistants also do, but unit tests automatically with test coverage with /test. And so, you can use this in your preferred IDE, which is VS Code, JetBrains, and a few others as well. And also GitLab, which is super cool. The transformation capabilities of Q Developer, I put this as well. Because this can now migrate .NET apps from Windows to Linux. It also does VMware workloads and mainframes, but they're not particularly serverless. So we've got people, do have .NET apps which are running in Windows, and they want to maybe port them to Linux or onto a container environment. Q Developer, get Gen AI to help. Anything that can help will be good as well.
It's timeline view. I'll jump in here because I know you probably need a drink or something. Timeline view in AWS CloudFormation. This allows you to see how things are happening. One of the things you wonder is what is taking the longest? So this allows you to kind of break it down and say, okay, this is happening, these are happening in parallel, this is happening separately, this has to happen first. This gives you a great view. If you're an ops person, sometimes like you're trying to figure that out. So this is the way to look at it. So take a look at that. Obviously,
and visual. It's much more. I mean, of course, you could look at all the timestamps beforehand, but I just want to look at this and go, that's where things are taking longer.
That's right.
Maybe what to optimize.
Yep.
Database insights. Remember, we spoke about ECS insights, Lambda insights, container insights. Just database insights, application monitoring. This is to do with Aurora, MySQL, and Postgres. So just a much better way that you can roll up more information for your analytics. Not analytics, your observability.
Another section down.
Another section down. We're getting there. So I've only also remember these aren't all the releases. I've just picked and chosen some kind of things. So please don't think anything is of omission. Resource control policies. So we have service controls policies, which allows you within an organization to limit what services can do. Now we've got resource control policies that can limit what resources can do. So this is super cool. So this can set the maximum available permissions on resources. So, S3 buckets or function URLs open to the internet or private API gateways, anything you can do in a resource policy, a really sort of preventative guardrail that you can set up as well. This one is, I don't know if it's even serverless or not, but this is just a great quality of life improvement. If people, many organizations with a lot of different accounts, now you can just manage the root access rather than having to go into every single individual account and manage the root credentials and do that. Now you can just do it centrally. Isn't that simple?
I just went through and tied all mine together. It's fantastic. This is absolutely fantastic because I got different accounts to do things, and so this was a huge step. I love this.
Cool, Eric. I'm going to punt this one over to you because you know more about Cognito than I've. You've forgotten more about Cognito than I've ever learned, I think.
Yeah. So new Amazon Cognito features. So Cognito's been around for a long time, and it was really cool. I don't know if Julie and I told you, but I was actually at a conference last year, and the guy who wrote the first lines of code for Cognito was in the room, and
cool.
We talked for quite a while. It was a great conversation.
Was that David?
It was, yeah. It was David Baruzzi.
Yeah. So he's been on the show before. Cool.
Yeah. So, but we've done a lot of work. Cognito team's done a lot of work around improved developer experience. We have popular programming languages and frameworks. The user experience. One of the things that we get a lot of people to talk about is, how do I manage the user, in there, and how can I get that how can I pass that down to my application? So you have managed logins. You can do different enhanced customizations. I'm still reading that, Julian. I need you to not switch it while I'm reading, if you could. Passwordless login. This is really cool. I actually played around with this last night. Was using for one of the things we do for Serverless Espresso is the one-time token. And so looking at use the passwordless login. So that's kind of built into Cognito. I've updated pricing plans. So a lot of work that I encourage you to read the blog. We can go for a lot of things, but yeah, check it out.
Cool. So anything new? Just a bit of an animation of what's going on. But, cool. So identity access management. There were plenty of other kind of things. But sort of one of the sections we wanted to cover is databases, which we don't often necessarily cover here on Serverless Office Hours. But there are some big, cool things that have come out, which is some incredible technology. So
Yep.
So Amazon Aurora SQL, Amazon Aurora DSQL. I can't believe I've even got the name wrong on the very first thing. It's available in preview today, and it's a fast distributed SQL database, global, Postgres compatible, strong consistency, like it does it all. And there's a lot of content to reinvent about this. One of the original gurus of Lambda, called Mark Bricker, is working on Amazon Aurora DSQL, and he's done some amazing reinvent talks, like as nerdy as you can get on how all this kind of works.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, the point of this is they've basically sort of re-implemented PostgreSQL in a super scalable way. There are a number of kind of things that they've done. It's entirely serverless, so you don't need to connect it to over a VPC like you do need to RDS. So think of this maybe as the sort of SQL equivalent of DynamoDB. So obviously, NoSQL is super powerful, super scalable. But some people with their applications, it's like, you know what, the NoSQL is not for me. Maybe it's because you don't want to learn something new, or maybe your access patterns are, you really want to do, joins and all the traditional kind of SQL things. So Postgres brings super important. This is, multi-region availability as well. No single point of failure, automated failure recoveries, and strongly consistent and durable. And this is also super cool because what they've actually built is you can actually have Aurora DSQL active multi-region without this massive coordinated commit issue across their time. So what they basically do is and I'm going to cover this later about, they've done Amazon does some amazing stuff with microsecond latency for clocks. And you're thinking, what the heck are you talking about? Like clocks, and why is that important? But it means that we can do consistent transactions across regions by storing the time of one thing happens, doing the whole list of applications that need to do. Effie, I'm glad you tried it with Django, easy and cool. Do all those those commit messages, send them across to the other side, and just by using the local time, it knows whether to allow them or reject them. And instead of having a round trip time for each sort of part of the transaction coordination, it can do it in a much simpler way. I'm probably bastardizing the simplicity of that, but yeah, some super technology under the hood to do that. The way they've scaled out it. The way they've scaled out the storage, so the storage is one part. The front end part of it as well. There's there are Mark Brooker goes into the different components of the front end service of how they manage the queries and how it runs in a whole set of microservices. They use some actual cool snapshotting technology where they sort of snapshot parts of the database at a particular point in time, so they can always ensure consistency when you're going to do the writes. Yeah, just a cool technology that I know they've been working on for many years.
So if you go to the next slide, you see that the active is not just DSQL, it's also in DynamoDB. So we're bringing it out to the global tables. So active, strong consistency in multi-regions, right? These are available in preview. This is a huge thing. I mean, the idea, and Julian, I think you did a great job explaining it. But this is a huge thing. People struggle with strong consistency globally. It's a hard thing to do, and this is one of the things that we do really well. And yeah, Mark Brooker is a genius. I told you, well, you were there when I met him, and I would not met him, but we were talking to him at reInvent, and I congratulated him on SQLD, and he looked at me funny, and I went, "Oh, I named it the wrong name." So right in front of him, called the wrong thing, but there it is. So yeah, so okay.
I love it. Yeah, Billy, maybe not the right context. There's always the right context. Hopefully, what would you recommend to replace the QLDB services? Generally, what the recommendations are, I think, is Amazon Aurora PostgreSQL, because obviously using QLDB because you want, a sort of, a ledger kind of database, which is often for audit use cases. Aurora PostgreSQL is probably the one you want for that as well. I think in fact, speaking of the next slide. We do actually have the sort of Amazon Aurora PostgreSQL limitless. So this is just a awesome limitless thing without having to create application logic to manage the multiple databases. So it shards the storage layer, but then automatically scales the compute up and down depending on your workloads without you needing to reprovision. So yeah, just a sort of quality of life, simplicity thing to have these sort of limitless clusters.
Okay, just a heads up, Julian. Yeah, we're at the 8-minute mark.
We're going.
So we're going to book. All right. So Amazon DynamoDB warm throughput. This allows you to easily pre-warm Amazon DynamoDB tables, so they are quick. DynamoDB is fast anyway, but we've done a lot of work around making it faster. So definitely check that out.
Yeah, definitely. All right. A bit of a demo we got in there. And yeah, price reduction for Amazon DynamoDB. You want 50% off for your on-demand throughput? Got it done. So yeah, not much to talk about that winner in your bill. Amazon Aurora Serverless now rarely scales to 0 as well. So this is used to buy Aurora capacity units, ACUs. Used to have it at a half to be able to scale down as much as you can. Now it's to 0. But I just want to give you a caveat. If you have an RDS connection or you have something that keeps waking up this database, you're not going to see that properly scaling down to 0. So you have some sort of proxy in front of it, RDS proxy or some other kind of thing, or backup jobs or streaming things that are connected to this database, you're not going to see it scale down to 0. So just understand what's going to be working with your database to be able to do that. And then when it does actually scale down to 0, the first connection is requested, the database automatically resumes and scales up. I think it takes sort of 5, 10, maybe 15 seconds for that as well. But that's cool. Just another thing you don't need to worry about. You can just turn that on.
Try.
So quickly through ML, AI, Gen AI, we've got some stuff. This is just a quick one to say that SageMaker is sort of having, more things are going to the SageMaker family. There's a whole bunch of different stuff that's going in there. So it's the title is Center for All Your Data Analytics, ML, and Governance with via Unified Studio. So yeah, just if you're seeing more and more things going to SageMaker, this is the case. The Studio, Lakehouse, Governance, model development. There were some other things, but yeah, just a whole bunch of things to be aware, to maybe pay more attention to SageMaker becoming more of a family.
For Amazon Bedrock Flows, we've got the so we've added 2 new features. So this usually was the Bedrock Prompt Flows, but now it's Bedrock Flows. We have enhanced security by adding Amazon Bedrock guardrails. If you're not familiar with guardrails, those actually help you make sure what's being returned is what you want being returned. Enhanced traceability to see with validation debugging, you can never get enough traceability, right? So we're enhancing this so you can get more about your story.
Yeah, and this is now GA. It was under preview before as prompt flows, and a visual builder for building your prompt kind of things. Automated reasoning is something actually that is super important. This is using mathematical proofs. What is this? Mathematical techniques to safeguard Bedrock guardrails. So this is using literary mathematics to prove whether maybe an IAM policy is correct or wrong, or some guardrail that you've done in your application that you don't want, PII information or whatever. You can use automated reasoning to mathematically prove that the guardrail you're building in to make sure the PII data isn't transferred, or credit card numbers, or IAM permissions that you're creating, all this kind of thing. Yeah, and Amazon is doing a lot of work for this. We use a lot of automated reasoning internally to make, literally prove that what we say is true, and sort of get rid of some of these hallucinations.
All right, this next one, we got multi-agent collaboration in Bedrock. A lot of times we want to use, if you're doing a lot of different things with your AI, it may be asking you to do one thing or another, and you need different models, but handling the memory across the models, handling the history, the context, things like that. So this allows you to handle the multi-agent collaboration for you. So we offer, basically we handle that collaboration.
Yeah, cool. They're always new models. So yeah, these are Amazon Nova, new foundation models. So these people are enjoying because they are in a really good price point, a few different kind of things. So yeah, some new generation of these foundation models built by Amazon, available exclusively on Bedrock. So yeah, I always think there's never going to be one model to rule them all. Pick and choose. Bedrock's really cool that you can just switch between the models really easily. So yeah, give it a try. Prompt routing and caching. So this is this is actually in preview at the moment. So this allows you to route prompts within the same foundation of the model family, and then also do some caching. So if you're going to use some frequently used context across model invocations, obviously this is going to save you money and improve your performance as well. Just quickly, because we've got minutes to go.
Yeah, go ahead.
We've got the time sync service. This is the microsecond level clock accuracy on Amazon EC2 instances, which basically makes this global stuff. So you don't have to go to another service to say what was your time. Microsecond clock. It uses satellites. It uses a whole bunch of things. Peter DeSantis did the keynotes on Monday evening talking all about this. And from the time thing, they also had this thing which Amazon came out with. They decided, you know what, we want to actually increase the speed of light. What on earth are you talking about? And so they've literally developed this hollow core fiber. So when light normally goes through glass in the fiber, it slows down in the glass. And so they were like, you know what, we could just get rid of that glass. I'm obviously being very flippant over here, but so that's it. Just as you do, not very serverless, but just increase the speed of light. Why don't you? Builder ID is an interesting thing. It's not a release or anything. There are more and more things going to be coming along where a builder ID, it gives you access to Amazon Q, courses with skill builder, I believe, and a whole bunch of other kind of things. So that's it as well. Don't forget the serverless playlist with all the Summit kind of, and then all the Summit kind of information, and all the information to do with serverless is available on serverlessland.com. So a whistle-stop tour. But Eric, in fact, tell us in the chats. We've got a minute or two. What are your favorite? 2 questions. What are your favorite releases, and what would you like to hear more of? Because we have a live stream. We'll invite people on to talk about it. And Eric, what were your favorites?
I'll tell you my favorite. I love JSON and variables, and I love the private API. I'm a huge step function fan. I love that. I also like the hollow core fiber, just because that's cool. It's like, we'll just throw something together for you here real quick. So I love that. What about you?
I asked you first, and then you took the things that I'd be interested in as well.
I'm a thunder stealer.
I always love the Lambda things. I think big focus on developer experience with serverless. We know honestly that has sometimes tripped people up. So a lot of focus going on developer experience to do things as well. And then I think the future of DSQL is going to be super, super cool. So I love the idea of getting to a really serverless, globally distributed, no VPC required SQL database. It is in preview at the moment. We haven't seen pricing, so don't know what that's going to be. I honestly don't know how people are going to have to then have decision matrices between other Amazon Aurora and Postgres Limited SQL and all those kind of things. But yeah, there's choice. So
all right,
yeah,
with that,
super.
we got to sign off.
Thank you so much.
Tuesdays, you go.
Same time, same place. We appreciate you spending the time with us as well. Lovely to be live streaming you again with Eric. We may actually do it again really soon. We'll dive more into step functions. But yeah, thanks so much for spending the time with us today. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your week. And we'll see you same time, same place next week. And subscribe to the channels. That also helps us to be able to let you know what's going on. Thank you.
That's right. Thanks all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.